Well, happy frickin' Saturday. What's going on, you guys? TBR here, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video, and it is Saturday. Happy Saturday to all of you fine people out there, and of course that means it's going to be the Saturday chat and chill today. But before we get into all of that and more, if you guys are new here to the channel and you don't already know, we do daily King of Fighters All-Star content here on the channel, so why don't you go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe, and we can all get into today's video. So with all that being said, let's get into this week's topic. And of course, this week's topic is going to be everything next week's update. Yes, you guys, we are going to be getting another new update next week with a new limited banner that will be featuring SS Yuri and SS King. And I figured I would go ahead and take this moment to give you guys my hopes, my dreams, and my fears as it pertains to this new update. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Now, of course, the first thing that I do want to mention as it pertains to next week's update is the fact that Netmarble needs to prioritize fixing the slow-mo issues and slow-mo bugs that have been plaguing the game in a huge way for the past several weeks. These things have been present since the Dead or Alive collaboration in a small way. They've been something we've dealt with intermittently depending on the person and depending on the game mode, but ever since they released Boss Syndrome Volume 4, we have been having nothing but issues with the slow-mo bug. For me particularly, it ends up being a major issue when I'm playing Guild Raid and I'm tagging in and out, or when I am using these new characters with their awakening rotations, and I think that it might have something to do with the fact that these characters have as many multi-hits as they do, particularly when I use my Boss Syndrome Gonitz and I have the Shermie option card equipped and he's resetting his skills more often. It becomes so bad that I honestly can't even use the card on him, despite the fact that I would like to do so. So Netmarble, please fix this issue. This has been something that has gone on long enough. It is affecting people's ability to play the game, and worse yet, it is affecting people's ability to enjoy the game. So this needs to be the first priority that Netmarble looks at when it comes to this next update, because if they decide that they're just going to add more new characters as well as maybe a couple of events here and there without actually addressing this issue, then honestly, how are you supposed to enjoy all of this stuff in its proper form if you can't even play the game in its proper form? So that is going to be the first priority that I have for Netmarble with this. I hate to start with a criticism, but it is something that needs to be fixed because it is a huge issue for all of us, or at least most of us. Now, the next thing that I do want to talk about is going to be as it pertains to any potential generic memory along with this update. So we should be seeing an SS generic memory as a reward for some sort of new game mode or event that is coming up in the next couple of weeks, whether it's going to be on the actual day of the banner drop or within the next couple of weeks thereafter. We should be seeing some sort of event that will be rewarding an SS generic memory. And my only hope with this at this point, because it's going to be a situation where Netmarble is damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. If they don't release one, then everybody's going to complain, and if they do release one and they don't just give it away for free, then they are also going to get nothing but backlash from the global side. I say that because I realize that on the Korean side, especially with Zombie Rod is a perfect example over the course of the past couple of weeks, the Korean side of the community has not really complained all that much about the ways that they reward these. Instead, they've been a lot more proactive in their approach and just been trying to help each other get through it and learn how to get through these things on a budget or whatever the case may be. But let's face it, it doesn't matter what you do on the global side, you're going to get yelled at about something, so I don't feel like this is the hill you want to die on. At this point, if I'm Netmarble with the global community, I'm trying to pick and choose my battles. So this is something that I would just bend the knee on and just make it as easy as possible. And for God's sake, can we just release it on the same day as the actual banner? I don't understand rolling out content 2 or 3 weeks after you've already rolled out previous content that's supposed to coincide or tie in with it. It doesn't really make any sense. Just go ahead and release it all at once and make it one big event and stop stretching it all out. It almost feels like you release specific things early and with the intention of releasing other things later just because it isn't finished yet and you want to get an update out as soon as possible. So you're like, okay, well this and this isn't done, but I can release this and this that is done, and then we can release that other stuff in a couple of weeks. So it's just, I don't know. It's one of those things where I feel like, again, it goes back to what I talked about a few weeks ago, where you need to start theming everything together and start making things feel a little bit more, I don't know, fluid. But yeah, I think that this is something that they can just go ahead and, honestly, even if they just want to put it on a login bonus at this point, I don't care what they do with it, as long as it's something where everybody isn't complaining. I'm just as happy. So that is going to be the next topic that I think needs to be addressed. Just make it something to where everybody has access to it and just call it a day at this point. So the next thing that I want to go ahead and talk about is going to be as it pertains to any potential new events that come along with this banner. So this is a topic that we've talked about a couple of times over the course of the past couple of weeks, and I do have quite a few thoughts when it comes to this sort of thing. When it comes to these limited banner events and these releases, I feel like Netmarble has really missed the boat when it comes to theming all of this stuff around each other, and I realize that that's probably something that isn't going to change, so I'm not really going to get into that, but I do want to more specifically get into what types of events they're going to be releasing with this limited banner. And at this point, what I would really like to see is, I would like to see, of course, a new rush dungeon. That's always something that's welcome. Having that extra injection of 100 rubies every day is really good for free-to-play players, and I really do like the idea that they've been releasing all these rush dungeons recently, because it does help free-to-plays out in a huge way. So I'm glad to see that they do that more often, so let's hope that they continue that. I see no reason why we won't see one, but you never know. And then the next thing that I want to go ahead and point out is, I would like to see super missions come back. It has been forever since we've had a super mission. I would also like to see a new roulette, and these are things that we haven't had for a very long time. I know that they like to kind of cycle through all these different types of events and kind of rotate through them, but it seems like those are two particular kinds of events that we really haven't seen as often lately, so I would really like to see those return. Now, when it comes to the roulette, I don't necessarily think it needs to be something with a brand new character or anything like that, but it would be really cool if they would put a character on there that is from maybe the unified banner. It's been a while since we've seen that happen, so maybe put like a unified banner Fess on there. That way some people out there that have just gotten into the game or are new to the game can get themselves a couple of copies of that character, so they can get a couple of awakening levels on it and things of that nature. I think that those are always welcome and those are always really fun, but that is something I would like to see. Whether I think that's actually going to happen or not, who knows, but that is stuff that I would like to see happen again. And then if we do get a super mission, I hope that the super mission is one that is going to be more so geared towards hammers, with the intention there of giving people more rare enhancement hammers and maybe even some unpairing kits or something like that. Again, those are things that are going to be resources that are very tough to come by for a lot of players, so it would be nice if they would release something along those lines. But then again, any type of events that they release along these lines are always going to be things that are just kind of homework, things to keep you busy, things you can farm, but at the same time, they are very beneficial, and all of those currencies do add up over the course of the time that they're available, and they are things that are very welcome. So I do hope that they do release a couple of events with this new update that are things that we haven't seen in a while, because we have been seeing a repeat, or at least a lot of the same types of events over and over and over again. That's why I was really happy to see that dice game recently, because it had been a very long time. So hopefully they get around to doing some of this stuff, because it's been a while since we've seen a lot of these things, and even though super missions aren't necessarily the most sexy thing in the world, they do tend to be really easy, and they reward you for just doing your daily missions and things along those lines. So a lot of different things they could do here, but I really do hope that they release a couple of events that we haven't seen in a while. That way they can kind of vary it up a little bit. Now, the next thing that I would like to talk about is actually going to be still kind of riding the coattails of what we just talked about, but a little bit of a segue, and that's going to be new content. Now, of course, new events and new characters and so on and so forth, I guess you could technically consider that new content, although I would argue that that isn't necessarily going to be what a lot of people would consider to be new content, because A lot of the times these things are just reruns when we talk about these events. And when we talk about the characters do not just purely equal content in any game. You have to continue to release new things in order to be using those characters in order to keep things kind of varied. So I'm really hoping that that buff dungeon that they had mentioned a while back ends up becoming a reality with this update. I know it might be asking a little much, and we haven't had any indication whatsoever about that. However, it would be really cool to see that dungeon added in, especially considering the fact it has been so long since they gave us the heads up about it and the fact that they were actually working on it. It's been a long time, so I really hope that this is something that is getting close to being a reality in the game, because it did sound really fun, and it's something that I think would definitely be welcome at this point, considering the fact that it is a very rare occurrence that we get such events and such updates, but at the same time it would be really welcome by everybody. So I hope that that's something that they look at, but time will tell. But all of that being said, this is going to bring us to the actual banner, so let's go ahead and talk about that real quick. So for all of you guys who have been paying attention, of course you would already know that we are going to be seeing SS King and SS Yuri on this banner, and of course that means that I am all of the hype, because King is easily my favorite character in all of SNK. Probably she's up there as far as just video games in general. But when it comes to this entire situation with these characters, I'm not going to get into the denomination of people that are just ranting and raving about the new charge mechanic and saying that it's automatically bad out of the box, because I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. It's not even worth me getting into it in this video. I'll talk more about it in a video where I have more time and it makes more sense. But, you know, my only real hope with these characters is, and I'm not looking for them to break the meta, you know, despite the fact that King is the character that I downloaded this game to play as. I've been waiting since day one at launch to get a fast version of this character. So it's a situation where, yes, I could sit here and tell you guys that I hope they break her and make her the best character in the game and yada yada yada. And even though I wouldn't complain if that were to happen with either of these characters, at the same time, I don't want that to happen. I just want them to do them justice. I want both of these characters to be characters that are not going to be akin to a character like an SSK, where everybody just hated them because they just weren't anywhere near the rest of the meta. I hope that they are in the meta. They just don't define the meta, because that is something that, again, feeds into that horrible power creep issue, and we cannot continue that from banner to banner, especially when we get a new banner every month at this point. So that's pretty much my hope. At this point, I'm more so just sitting here talking to all my friends about whether or not King's S2 is either a modified version of Trap Shot or it's Mirage Dance at this point. So I'm having fun with all of this. This has been the most hype I've ever been for a banner, so I'm just trying to enjoy it at this point. Whatever happens, happens. But anyway, you guys, those are my thoughts as it pertains to this new update. You know, of course, we are getting the friendly match part of this update as well, which is a big deal for a lot of people. So there are positives. Let's hope that that continues. But what say you guys? Let me know in the comments section down below. If you haven't done so, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Continue.